General Jiho stood in the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Security Council. The room was massive, filled with alien species from across the galaxy. Some had multiple eyes, others floated in containment fields, and a few looked almost human. But none of them were human. None of them understood what Earth had suffered. Behind Jiho, a holographic display flickered to life. Images of destroyed cities appeared one by one. Seoul reduced to rubble. Mumbai, burning under alien fire. New York, its towers collapsed into dust. The numbers scrolled across the screen in cold, clinical precision. 3,200,000,000 dead. 15 years ago, these cities were full of life. Now, they were monuments to the worst tragedy humanity had ever faced. Jiho's uniform was clean and pressed. But if someone looked closely, they could see the old burn marks on the collar. The scars on his hands told stories of battles fought in the ruins of his homeworld. He was not just a general. He was a survivor. The Valthian ambassador sat across the chamber, comfortable in his seat. He was tall and thin, with silver skin that reflected the chamber lights. He looked bored, as if this entire proceeding was beneath him. Next to him sat his advisors, equally unconcerned. Jiho began to speak. His voice was calm but carried weight that made even the elder species pay attention. 15 years ago, the Valthian sovereignty came to Earth. They did not send diplomats. They did not ask permission. They came with warships and weapons. They told us we were primitives. They told us our world belonged to them now. He paused and looked around the chamber. Some species shifted uncomfortably. Others stared at their data tablets, pretending not to listen. Lieutenant Hannah was flying patrol that day. She was 23 years old. She watched the invasion fleet destroy her entire squadron in the first 5 minutes. 47 pilots died before they even understood what was happening. But Hannah kept fighting. She ejected twice, found new fighters, and kept flying until there were no more ships left to fly. The hologram changed. It showed footage from those first days. Shaky camera recordings from the ground. People running. Buildings exploding. The Valthian soldiers marching through the streets of Earth's cities. Dr. Taiyang was a physicist. He was working on clean energy research. The Valthian destroyed his laboratory and executed his entire research team. They called it eliminating potential resistance. Taiyang's colleagues were scientists, not soldiers. That didn't matter to the Valthian. Jiho's voice grew harder. Engineer Nari was 17 when the bombardment hit Busan. She was having dinner with her parents, her 2 brothers, and her grandmother. The building took a direct hit. Nari survived because she was in the bathroom. Everyone else became ashes in an instant. The Valthian ambassador finally spoke. These are tragic stories, but war is unfortunate. The sovereignty was establishing order in an ungoverned system. We followed all protocols. Jiho turned to face him directly. Protocols. You had protocols for enslaving 3 million humans in your mining colonies? You had protocols for using our children as test subjects for your biological weapons? You had protocols for executing prisoners in groups of 100 to maintain discipline. The chamber fell silent. Even the translator devices seemed to pause. We've documented 3,247 war crimes. We have names. We have dates. We have evidence. We have survivors who can testify. We brought all of this to your council because we believed in galactic justice. The council members whispered among themselves. Finally, the council chair spoke. She was an ancient being. Her species had been traveling the stars for 10,000 years. The evidence will be reviewed. A decision will be made according to council law. 3 hours later, the decision came. No action would be taken against the Valthian sovereignty. The invasion happened in unaligned space. Earth was not a council member at the time. The Valthian had followed the technical requirements of their charter. Regrettable, but legal. Jiho had expected this answer, but it still hurt. He had hoped the galaxy was better than this. He had hoped justice actually meant something beyond borders and politics. He stood up slowly. The entire chamber watched him. This was the moment that would be remembered. This was the moment that would change everything. Then I have an announcement for this council. You have made your decision. Now humanity makes ours, his voice echoed through the chamber. Every translator in the room worked perfectly, carrying his words to hundreds of species. You invaded Earth. You killed 3 billion of us. You enslaved our people. You destroyed our cities. And now, you tell us this was legal? You tell us this was acceptable? You tell us to move on and forget. Jiho took a step forward. Humanity will not forget. We will not move on. And we will not accept your justice. The council chair tried to interrupt, but Jiho's voice cut through. Every individual responsible for Earth's invasion will face justice. Every officer who gave orders, every soldier who fired on civilians, every official who profited from our suffering, we have their names. We know where they are, and we are coming for them. The chamber erupted in chaos. Species shouted in dozens of languages. The Valthian ambassador stood up, his face twisted in anger. The council chair demanded order. Jiho continued speaking, his voice rising above the noise. You should all remember this moment. You had a choice. You could have shown us that the galaxy has honor, that the galaxy has justice. Instead, you showed us that the galaxy only respects power. He turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed on the polished floor. Behind him, Ambassador Sora followed, her face grim but determined. She was Earth's diplomatic representative, but she knew diplomacy had just ended. General Jiho, the council chair, called out, "If you take military action against a council member state, there will be consequences. Sanctions, isolation, Earth will stand alone." Jiho stopped at the doorway. He turned back one last time. Earth has stood alone before. We stood alone when your fleets watched our world burn. We stood alone when we fought the Valthian in the ruins of our cities. We stood alone when we rebuilt from ashes. His eyes swept across the entire chamber. Standing alone doesn't frighten us anymore. What frightens us is becoming like you. Too comfortable to care. Too political to act. Too afraid to demand justice. He walked out. The doors closed behind him with a final, decisive sound. In the chamber, the species looked at each other with worry. The humans had just declared war. Not a war of conquest. Not a war of territory. A war of accountability. And nobody knew what that meant or how to stop it. General Jiho walked down the corridor toward his ship. His hands were shaking slightly, but his steps were steady. 15 years of planning. 15 years of preparation. 15 years of waiting for this moment. Now the real work began. The news of Jiho's announcement spread across the galaxy within hours. On Earth, people gathered around screens in public squares, watching the recording again and again. Some cheered. Others cried. Many did both. After 15 years of suffering in silence, humanity had finally spoken. In the Valthian capital, government officials dismissed the threat. Humans were primitives who had barely survived one invasion. They had no real fleet, no advanced weapons, no experience with galactic warfare. This was just empty words from a broken species trying to feel important. They were wrong about everything. Deep in Earth's orbital shipyards, Admiral Heian walked through the construction bays. Massive ships filled the space around him. These were not pretty vessels like the elegant cruisers the Valthian flew. Human ships looked brutal and functional. They had thick armor plating, multiple backup systems, and weapons that stuck out at odd angles. "Status report," Heian said to his chief engineer. "Fleet readiness is at 92%. We have 47 capital ships, 218 frigates, and over 1,000 support craft. All crews are trained and ready." You nodded. The galaxy thought Earth was still recovering. They thought humans were still weak. For 15 years, Earth had played that role perfectly. Every diplomat who visited saw struggling cities and heard stories of hardship. They never saw the underground factories. They never saw the training facilities hidden in remote locations. They never saw humanity preparing for war. Dr. Taiyang worked in one of those hidden facilities. His laboratory was built inside a mountain, far from any city. The walls were lined with weapons that made even his assistants nervous. He had spent 15 years turning his grief into something useful. Something deadly. "The kinetic missiles are ready," he told the military officers who visited his lab. "The Valthene shields are designed to stop energy weapons. These are just very fast pieces of metal. Their shields won't even slow them down." He pulled up another display. "This is the viral software package. Once it gets into their computer systems, it spreads through their entire network. It doesn't destroy anything immediately. It just waits, collecting information, until we decide to activate it." One officer looked uncomfortable. "Sir, some of these weapons, they're considered illegal by galactic conventions." Taiyang's expression didn't change. The Valthene thought invading Earth was legal. The Council agreed with them. "I don't care what the galaxy considers legal anymore. I care about what works." Captain Minho commanded the stealth frigate Soul's Vengeance. His crew was small, only 38 people, but every single one was a survivor of the invasion. Lieutenant Jiwan had spent 2 years in the Valthene mines before the Resistance freed her. Engineer Nari had rebuilt herself from trauma into one of humanity's best technicians. Corporal Sungyun had watched his entire unit executed. They didn't talk much about their pasts. They didn't need to. Everyone on the ship understood. "You have our orders," Minho told his crew. "We're not going after military targets. We're going after their supply chains. The Valthene Empire runs on logistics. Food, medicine, manufacturing supplies, everything flows through specific routes. We're going to cut those routes." The Soul's Vengeance slipped into Valthene space without being detected. Human stealth technology was crude compared to the galaxy's standards, but it worked differently. Instead of trying to hide from sensors, human ships simply looked like rocks or debris. The Valthene scanners passed right over them. Their first target was a supply depot orbiting an agricultural world. Hundreds of cargo ships stopped there every day, picking up food that fed Valthene colonies across 3 sectors. The depot had minimal security. After all, who would attack a food distribution center? Humans would. Nari worked her magic on the depot's computers. Within minutes, she had access to everything. "I'm uploading Dr. Taiyang's virus now. It's spreading through their logistics network." Sangyun and his Marines boarded the depot. They moved quickly, efficiently. They didn't kill anyone. They just planted charges in specific locations and left. 20 minutes after they arrived, the Soul's Vengeance was already accelerating away. The depot exploded 30 minutes later. Not a dramatic explosion, just enough to destroy the facility's ability to transfer cargo. The Valthene workers evacuated safely. The building was gone. Over the next 3 weeks, 17 more depots suffered similar fates. The Valthene military scrambled to respond, but they couldn't find the attackers. Human ships vanished into the void like ghosts. On the Valthene homeworld, government ministers met in emergency session. Their colonies were starting to report shortages. Nothing critical yet, but the trend was clear. Someone was strangling their supply lines. "It's the humans," one admiral insisted. "It has to be. It's impossible," another replied. "We have detailed intelligence on Earth's capabilities. They don't have the ships for this kind of operation. Then who else would target our logistics? Who else has a reason?" Back on Earth, Ambassador Sora received an urgent message from the Galactic Council. They demanded humanity cease all hostile actions immediately. They threatened sanctions, trade embargoes, and military intervention. Sora read the message 3 times, then composed her response. She kept it simple. "You had your chance to deliver justice through law. Now humanity delivers justice through consequence. We will stop when every individual responsible for Earth's invasion faces trial. Not before." She could send and leaned back in her chair. Her sister had died in Jakarta during the invasion. She had been a teacher, 26 years old, full of hope and dreams. The Valthene bombardment had left nothing to bury. General Jaho's face appeared on her screen. The council responded as expected. Yes, threats and demands. Nothing substantive. Good. Phase 2 begins tomorrow. Commander Yuna's teams are ready. Sora nodded. The galaxy isn't going to understand this, General. They're used to wars over territory or resources. They don't understand wars over principles. Then they'll learn, Jiho said. We're teaching the galaxy a new lesson. Actions have consequences. Power without accountability ends today. The transmission ended. Sora looked out her window at the Earth below. The planet still showed scars from the invasion. The lights of cities were dimmer than they should be. Whole regions remained empty where millions once lived. But Earth was not broken. Earth was angry. And angry humans were the most dangerous thing the galaxy had ever seen. Commander. Eunice stood in the briefing room with her special operations team. The mission board showed a face, Fleet Admiral Kathron of the Valthian Navy. He had personally ordered the bombardment of 17 Earth cities. 200 million people died on his orders. Now he lived in comfortable retirement on a resort world, protected by council law. We're going to extract him, Una told her team. Alive, unharmed, we're bringing him to trial. One of her operators raised a hand. Sir, he's on a council-protected world. If we go in there, we're violating about 30 different treaties. Una smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. The Valthian violated treaties when they invaded Earth. The Council violated their own principles when they refused to act. We're done caring about their rules. She pulled up the mission plan. We have 3 days to plan and prepare. Then we show the galaxy what humanity does to people who think they're untouchable. The team studied the plans in silence. Every one of them knew this mission could start a bigger war. Every one of them knew the risks. None of them hesitated. The galaxy was about to learn that. Humans didn't just survive tragedy. They remembered it. They documented it. And they always collected what was owed. Intelligence Director Junho sat in his underground office, surrounded by screens. Each screen showed a different face. These were not random people. These were targets. Every face belonged to someone who had participated in Earth's invasion. Every name had been researched, verified, and documented. How many are on the list now? Asked his assistant. 47,312, Junho replied without looking away from his screens. We've verified the involvement of each one. Officers who gave orders, soldiers who executed civilians, officials who profited from slavery, corporate executives who bought human labor, all of them. His assistant whistled softly. The galaxy has never seen anything like this. The galaxy has never faced humanity before, Junho said. We spent 15 years embedding agents in Valthian society, learning their language, understanding their culture, tracking every person who had anything to do with the invasion. They thought we were weak. They thought we would forget. Pulled up a file on his main screen. This is Fleet Admiral Kathron. Commander Yuna's team moves on him in 6 hours. He's the first, but he won't be the last. The resort world of Talavane was beautiful. Blue oceans, white beaches, perfect weather year-round. Wealthy aliens from across the galaxy came here to relax and forget their problems. Fleet Admiral Kathron had a villa on the north coast. He spent his days swimming, drinking expensive wine, and telling stories about his glorious military career he never mentioned. Earth. Those memories were unpleasant. Commander Yuna and her team approached the planet in a civilian transport. They looked like tourists, their weapons hidden in specially designed luggage. The resort's security scanners passed right over them. Human ingenuity at its finest. They spent 2 days watching Kron's patterns. He woke at 9 in the morning. Breakfast on his terrace at 10. Swimming at noon. Dinner at 7. Very predictable. Very comfortable. Very soon to end. On the third night, Yuna's team moved. 6 operators approached the villa from different directions. 2 stayed with the transport, ready for quick extraction. The rest moved like shadows through the perfectly landscaped gardens. Kathron was having dinner when they entered. He had just taken a bite of expensive seafood when he looked up and saw humans pointing weapons at him. His expression went from confusion to fear to anger in 3 seconds. You can't do this, he said in accented English. I'm a retired officer on a protected world. This is illegal. Yuna stepped forward. You killed 200 million of my people. Was that legal? That was war. Legitimate military action. Then this is justice. Legitimate accountability. She nodded to her team. Take him. They had Kathron sedated and packed within 5 minutes. The villa's security system never even triggered an alarm. By the time local authorities realized something happened, the human transport was already off-planet. The trial was held on a neutral space station. Every species in the galaxy received an invitation to watch. Most accepted, curious to see what humanity would do, the courtroom was simple. No fancy decorations, no dramatic lighting, just a judge, a prosecutor, and the accused. Behind them, a gallery where survivors could watch Hannah was there. She wore her old flight suit, the one with burn marks and patches. She had kept it all these years as a reminder. The prosecution presented evidence first. Communication logs showing Kithron's orders. Battle recordings showing the bombardments. Survivor testimonies describing what happened when the missiles hit. Why did you order the bombardment of civilian population centers? The prosecutor asked. Catherine sat silently for a moment. To break their will to resist? Standard military doctrine? Is it standard doctrine to target hospitals specifically? Medical facilities can hide military operations. Was it standard doctrine to bomb schools? Catherine said nothing. Hannah took the witness stand. She described watching her squadron die. She described the 3 days she fought alone, scavenging weapons and fuel from crashed ships. She described the moment she finally surrendered because there was literally nothing left to fight with. Did you ever think about the people you were killing? She asked Kithron directly. He looked at her for the first time. I thought about victory. I think about my friends every single day. Every single one. I can name them all. Can you name any of us? Kithron had no answer. The verdict came quickly. Guilty of crimes against sentient beings? The sentence was life imprisonment, working on Earth reconstruction projects. He would spend the rest of his days rebuilding what he had destroyed. The galaxy watched. Some species approved. Many more were horrified. Humans had just violated every diplomatic norm. They had kidnapped a retired officer from a protected world and put him on trial. The precedent was terrifying. But the trials didn't stop. 3 more extractions happened in the next month. A logistics officer who had managed the slave camps. A propaganda minister who had justified the invasion. A corporate executive who had purchased human children for biological experiments. Each was extracted cleanly. Each was tried publicly. Each was convicted on evidence that no one could dispute. Captain Minho's fleet grew bolder. They started hitting military supply convoys, not to destroy them, but to expose them. Nari's virus had infected the Valthene logistics network completely. Humanity knew where every ship was, what it carried, and where it was going. We're not trying to conquer them, Minho explained to his crew. We're trying to show them they're not safe, that they can't hide behind borders and laws. That if you harm humanity, humanity will find you. The Valthene military tried to respond. They increased patrols. They hardened their security systems. They moved high-value personnel to secure locations. It didn't matter. Junho's intelligence network was too deep. Commander Yuna's operators were too skilled. And humanity's patience was infinite. On Earth, public support for the campaign was strong, but complicated. People saw the trials. They saw justice being done. But they also saw the cost. The Galactic Council had imposed sanctions. Trade routes were closed. Technology imports stopped. Life was getting harder. General Jiho received daily reports about the economic situation. Food production was down. Medical supplies were running low. Some cities were struggling with power generation.
How long can we sustain this?
Admiral Heian asked during a private meeting. As long as we need to, Jiho replied, but his voice carried doubt. He had started this campaign for justice, but was he just creating more suffering? Ambassador Sora brought news from the council. They're willing to negotiate. They'll offer reparations, technology transfers, full membership in the council. All we have to do is stop the campaign, Jiho considered it. The offer was generous by galactic standards. Earth would gain more from accepting than from continuing to fight. From a practical perspective, negotiation made sense. What do the survivors say? He asked. Sora pulled up survey data. Mixed. 62% want to continue. 38% think we should negotiate. The economic hardship is real, General. People are suffering. Giho stood and walked to his window. Below, he could see Earth, still scarred. Still recovering. Still standing. Schedule a conference. All survivor representatives. Let them decide. This is their justice, to claim or surrender. The conference took 3 days. Hundreds of survivors spoke. Some wanted vengeance. Others wanted peace. Many wanted both and couldn't have either. In the end, they voted to continue. But they set a deadline. 2 years. Either finish the campaign by then, or accept negotiation. Humanity couldn't fight forever. JUNHO received the decision and updated his plans. 2 years to process 47,000 names. It was impossible. Unless they accelerated dramatically. Need to go after the big target, he told General Jiho. Prime Minister Velcane. He made the decision to invade. He's the most responsible. If we can get him, the rest might surrender. Jiho studied the intelligence file. Velkin was on the Valthine homeworld, surrounded by the most advanced defenses in the sector. Getting to him would require the largest operation humanity had ever attempted. How many casualties? Jiho asked quietly. Best estimate? 20 to 30% of the assault force, maybe more. Jiho closed his eyes. Those weren't numbers. Those were people. Sons and daughters. Husbands and wives. Parents and children. All survivors who had already lost so much. Prepare the operation, he said finally, and pray that we're making the right choice. Earth's economic situation grew worse each week. The Galactic Council's sanctions were working exactly as intended. Trade convoys that used to bring food now turned away at the border. Medical technology that saved lives was no longer available. Even basic computer components became scarce. Economic Minister Doyan worked 18-hour days trying to keep systems running. He had to make impossible choices. Which cities got power and which went dark? Which hospitals got medicine and which had to make do? Which families got food rations and which went hungry? We're not going to collapse, he told his staff. But we're getting close. Another 6 months of sanctions and we'll start seeing real catastrophic failures. The reports reached General Jiho's desk every morning. He read each one carefully. People were suffering. Again, because of his decision. Because of this campaign for justice that seemed to cause nothing but more pain. Admiral Hain found him one night, still at his desk at 3 a.m. You need sleep, General. I need this to be worth it, Jiho replied. I keep asking myself, what if we're wrong? What if justice isn't worth the cost? Heian sat down. My daughter was 8 when the invasion happened. The Valthian used her school as a test site for biological weapons. 43 children died over 3 days. My daughter was one of them. He paused, his voice steady but his hands shaking slightly. For 15 years, I've asked myself the same question. Is vengeance worth becoming monsters ourselves? I still don't know the answer. But I know that if we stop now, those 43 children died for nothing. The Survivor Conference was scheduled for the next week. Representatives from every major survivor group would vote on whether to continue the campaign or accept the Council's offer of negotiation. The meeting hall was packed. Hannah attended, wearing her flight suit. Giwan came, still carrying the scars from the mines. Dr. Taiyang sat in the back, his face unreadable. One by one, they spoke. An older woman stood first. My entire family died in Beijing. 3 generations, gone in one night. But my grandson survived. He's 6 now. I don't want him growing up in a galaxy where the powerful can do whatever they want. I vote to continue. A young man spoke next. I lost my legs in the bombardment of Sydney. I spent 2 years learning to walk again. Every step hurts. But stopping now? That would hurt more. Continue. Then Ji-Wan took the floor. I survived the mines. I know what suffering is. I know what it means to have hope break into pieces every single day. And I'm tired. I'm so tired of suffering, but I'm more tired of being afraid. If we stop now, we teach the galaxy that humans can be broken. That if you hurt us enough, we'll give up. I can't accept that. Continue. I'm a scientist. I deal in facts and evidence. The fact is that the galactic order allows this kind of horror. The evidence is 3 billion graves on Earth. If we stop now, we accept that order. We tell the universe that human lives don't matter enough to challenge the system. I believe human lives matter. Continue. The vote wasn't close. 78% voted to continue the campaign. But they also agreed on the 2-year deadline. Finish this quickly, or accept that it can't be finished. Commander Yuna received her new orders with grim determination. The target was Prime Minister Velkin himself. The operation would be called Reckoning Day. She assembled her best operators. 50 men and women, everyone a survivor, everyone willing to die if necessary. They trained for 3 weeks, studying every detail of the Valthine homeworld's defenses. Captain Minho would command the fleet element. 23 ships, including the Soul's Vengeance. Their job was to create enough chaos for the ground team to slip through. Nari worked around the clock preparing the cyber warfare package. She had to crack the most sophisticated computer system in the Valthine Empire. It would take perfect timing, flawless execution, and a lot of luck. Can you do it? Yuna asked her. Nari looked at the code on her screens. Yes, but the window is small. 90 seconds from the moment I trigger the virus to when their backup systems come online. That's all the time you'll have. 90 seconds, Yuna repeated. We'll make it enough. The fleet jumped into Valthine space 3 days later. Alarms immediately screamed across the homeworld. An entire human fleet bold enough to attack the capital itself. It seemed impossible. It seemed insane. It was both. Minho's ships spread out in attack formation. All vessels, weapons free. Hit them hard and keep hitting. We're not here to win. We're here to distract. The Valthine defense fleet responded with overwhelming force. They outnumbered the humans 5-1. Their ships were faster, more advanced, more powerful in every way. But human ships were tough. They took hits that would have destroyed any other vessel and kept fighting. When their weapons were destroyed, they rammed. When their engines failed, they became stationary gun platforms. They fought with a desperation that shocked the Valthine. Minho watched his fleet die around him. The destroyer Bazan's Pride exploded after taking a direct hit to its reactor. The frigate New Delhi went silent after losing all power. Ship after ship fell, but they kept fighting. All ships, tight formation, he ordered. We hold for 7 more minutes. Down on the planet, Nari's virus activated. In 3 seconds, it spread through the entire planetary defense network. Sensors went blind. Communications scrambled. Weapons targeting systems showed error messages. Commander Yuna's team dropped from orbit in armored pods. They hit the atmosphere hard, banking on the chaos to hide their approach. Anti-air defenses should have shredded them. But with the sensors offline, the defensive guns shot at nothing. 23 pods made it to the surface. 50 operators hit the ground running. They had 90 seconds before backup systems came online. They had maybe 10 minutes before the entire Valthian. Military descended on them. They moved through the capital city like a force of nature. Civilians scattered. Local security tried to respond, but couldn't coordinate without their computer systems. The human team reached the government complex in 6 minutes. Velkin's personal guards were well-trained professionals. They fought hard. The firefight lasted 90 seconds and left bodies on both sides. Corporal Sang-Yoon took 3 shots to the chest, stopping the guards from flanking the main team. His armor held, but he went down hard. "I've got the package," Yuna reported, dragging the shocked Prime Minister out of his office. Moving to extraction point, Sung-Yoon tried to stand. His armor's medical system pumped him full of stimulants, but 3 ribs were broken. "I'll cover the rear. Go." We don't leave people behind, Yuna said. You leave me or we all die, Sang Yun shot back. I'm not dead yet. I can still fight. Go. The team moved. Behind them, Sung Yun positioned himself at a doorway. When the Valthine elite forces arrived, he held them for 4 minutes. Long enough for his team to reach the extraction point. Long enough to make a difference? He died doing what he had always done. Protecting his people. The extraction shuttles screamed in under fire. 41 operators made it aboard with the captured Prime Minister. 9 didn't come back. The shuttles blasted back to orbit, where Minho's fleet was barely holding together. All ships, we have the package. Jump drive charging. 60 seconds. The Soul's Vengeance took a missile hit that tore through its port side. Minho felt the ship shudder beneath him. Damage report. Engines at 40%. Jump drive still charging. Valthine cruiser moved in for the killing blow. Minho watched it approach, knowing his weapons couldn't stop it. Then the destroyer Mumbai's Fury rammed it. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. 30 seconds to jump. His navigator reported 2010. 5. The fleet jumped to safety. Behind them, 7 human ships floated dead in space. Over 300 sailors never made it home, including the entire crew of the Soul's Vengeance sister ship, the Tokyo's Resolve. But they had Prime Minister Velkin, the man who ordered the invasion, the single person most responsible for Earth's nightmare. General Jiho received the news in silence. They had succeeded. They had done the impossible. And the cost was staggering. He thought about Corporal Sang Yun, about the crews of the lost ships, about all the people who kept paying the price for his decisions. Was it worth it? Admiral Heian asked quietly. Jiho looked at the casualty list. Each name was a person. Each person had family, friends, dreams. I don't know, he said honestly. But we're past the point of turning back now. We finish this, or their sacrifice means nothing. The trial of Prime Minister Velkin became the most watched event in galactic history. Not because of the spectacle, but because of what it represented. For the first time, a species was holding power itself accountable. The courtroom was packed with survivors. Hannah sat in the front row. Jiwon was there, along with hundreds of others. They came to see the man who ordered their suffering finally face consequences. Velkin sat in the defendant's chair, still dressed in his expensive clothes. He looked smaller now, without the power of his office. Just an old man who made terrible decisions. The prosecution didn't waste time. They presented communication logs showing Velkin chairing the meetings where the invasion was planned. They showed economic analyses that his staff prepared, calculating how much profit could be extracted from Earth. They showed the orders he personally approved. Why did you invade Earth? The prosecutor asked. Velkin looked tired. Because we could. Because Earth had resources we needed. Because in the galaxy, the strong take what they want. That's how it's always been. Did you consider that humans were sentient beings with rights? We considered them primitives, not members of the galactic community. Under council law, such species can be claimed. Under council law, the prosecutor repeated. Tell me, Prime Minister, what does your personal conscience say? Velkin was silent for a long time. I thought I was doing my duty, protecting Valthine interests, ensuring our prosperity, at the cost of 3 billion lives. Yes, the word hung in the air like a weight. Hannah took the witness stand. She told her story simply, without drama. The day the invasion started, watching her squadron die, fighting alone for 3 days. The moment she surrendered because there was nothing left to fight with. Do you know how many pilots I lost? She asked Velkin directly. 47 friends. I remember all their names. I remember what they said the last time I spoke to them. Do you remember us at all? Velkin looked at her. For the first time, real emotion showed on his face. Shame, maybe. Or just exhaustion. He said quietly. To me, you were just numbers on reports. Resistance to be eliminated. I never thought of you as people. We're always people, Hannah said. We had families, dreams, lives that mattered. And you took that from 3 billion of us. Dr. Taiyang testified next. He described his research facility, the colleagues who became friends. The day the Valthene soldiers executed them all, because they might develop weapons, they were scientists, he said. They were working on clean energy, but you killed them anyway. I issued a general order to eliminate technical personnel, Velkin admitted. I thought it was necessary. Necessary, Tai Yang repeated. How many necessary deaths did you order? The trial lasted 3 weeks. Witness after witness. Evidence after evidence. The galaxy watched it all. Some species dismissed it as human revenge, but others started asking uncomfortable questions about their own history. How many species had they conquered? How many lives had they destroyed under the excuse of galactic law? The verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all charges. The sentence was unusual. Not execution. Not simple imprisonment. Velkin would spend the rest of his life working on Earth's reconstruction projects. Every day, he would see the consequences of his decisions. Every day, he would help rebuild what he destroyed. You will live on Earth, the judge said. You will work alongside the survivors. You will see their faces. You will hear their stories. And maybe, eventually, you will understand what you took from them. Velkin accepted the sentence without protest. Perhaps he was relieved to still be alive. Perhaps he understood that this was mercy he didn't deserve. But the verdict's real impact was galactic. Within days, 3 younger species announced they were forming a new coalition. They called it the Terran Alliance. Not an empire. Not a conquest federation. An alliance based on mutual defense and accountability. We've watched humanity fight for principles, their joint statement said. We watched them refuse to accept injustice. We want to build a galaxy where that's the norm, not the exception. The Galactic Council tried to dismiss it. Just a few minor species making noise, but then more joined. Within 6 months, 43 species had signed the Terran Alliance Charter. They represented small populations, but together they had influence. The council fractured. Elder species who had dominated for millennia suddenly faced organized opposition. Some tried to crack down. Others recognized that change was coming and tried to adapt. 5 years after the campaign ended, Earth looked different. The reconstruction was progressing. Cities were being rebuilt. Populations were recovering, but the scars remained. They always would. General Jiho visited the memorial wall. 3 billion names carved in stone. It took up an entire valley. He walked along it slowly, reading the names. So many names. Too many names. Admiral Haon found him there. Was it worth it? He asked. The same question from years ago. Jiho thought about Corporal Sangyun, who died holding a doorway. About the crews of 7 ships who sacrificed themselves. About all the people who suffered through the sanctions and hardships. I still don't know, he said. But I know that 15 years ago the galaxy watched us burn and did nothing. Now the galaxy knows that actions have consequences. That power without accountability doesn't last. Maybe that prevents the next invasion. Maybe it saves someone else from suffering what we suffered. And if it doesn't, Jiho was quiet for a moment. Then at least we tried. At least we stood up and said that human lives matter. That we won't be victims forever. That we refuse to accept a galaxy built on the suffering of the weak. Ambassador Sora served on the reformed Galactic Council now. The new council had actual enforcement mechanisms. Rules about invasion. Protections for developing species. Most importantly, accountability. It's not perfect, she told Earth's parliament, but it's better. The younger species have a voice now. Treaties have meaning. And everyone knows that if they violate the principles, there will be consequences. Commander Yuna trained the Terran Alliance's Joint Special Operations Forces. She taught them human tactics. How to fight when outmatched. How to win when everyone says you can't. How to turn suffering into strength. We're not training conquerors, she told her students. We're training protectors. The galaxy has enough species that take what they want by force. We need more who fight for what's right. Dr. Tai Yang led the Alliance's research division. His weapons research continued, but now he also worked on defensive technology. systems to protect developing species from invasion, ways to level the playing field between strong and weak. Power should come from unity and principle, he said, not just superior weapons. Nari designed ships for the Alliance fleet. They were still ugly and functional, but they incorporated technology from dozens of species. Each ship was a symbol of cooperation, of different species working together. 15 years after General Jiho walked out of the Galactic Council chamber, a new species made first contact. They were young, enthusiastic, hopeful. They wanted to join the galactic community. Within days, an elder species began discussions about resource rights in their system. The same old pattern. The strong moving in on the weak. A human diplomatic vessel arrived before negotiations could turn exploitative. Captain Hannah, now an ambassador, delivered a simple message. The Terran Alliance stands ready to assist new species navigating galactic politics. You have friends here? You don't have to face this alone. And anyone who tries to exploit you will answer to all of us. The elder species withdrew their proposal. The young species joined the Terran Alliance the next month. General Jiho, now retired, watched the news from his home on Earth. His successor, a young officer named Dae-Yoon, who had been a child during the invasion. Visited him, sir. Did we really change the galaxy? Dae-Yoon asked. Jiho looked out at the stars. The same stars that once brought invasion fleets, now they brought allies and friends. We changed what humanity means, he said. We were victims once. We suffered. We nearly broke. But we didn't stay victims. We stood up. We demanded justice. We showed the galaxy that power without accountability ends when someone is brave enough to say no. And now we teach others to say no. We stand with the weak until they're strong enough to stand alone. We built something better from the ashes of our suffering. Jiho smiled slightly. The galaxy thought Earth was finished 15 years ago. They thought we would fade into history as just another conquered species. Instead, we became the species that wouldn't accept conquest, that wouldn't bow to injustice, that refused to let power go unchallenged. He looked at Dae-Yoon. Your generation won't know the Earth that burned. You'll know the Earth that rebuilt. The Earth that stood for something. Make sure you keep standing for it. Dae-Yoon saluted. Yes, sir. After he left, Jiho returned to the memorial wall. He placed his hand on the stone, feeling the carved names under his fingers. We did it, he whispered to the 3 billion names. We didn't forget. We didn't forgive. We didn't let your deaths be meaningless. The galaxy is different now, because you existed. Because we remembered you. The sun set over Earth, painting the sky in colors of red and gold. It looked like fire, but it wasn't destruction. It was just another day ending on a world that refused to stay broken. Humanity had survived. Humanity had fought back. And humanity had changed the rules of the galaxy itself.